Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, we're going to be making this really cute layered penguin design as part of my Christmas in July paper crafting event. This is a free SVG which you can download using the link in the description of the video, and it's got loads of layers in it which makes it perfect for a really nice paper craft project that's going to take a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it and a very enjoyable project too. Let's get started. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, open up Cricut Design Space and start a new project. Click into Upload on the left and then Upload Image. You can then click Browse to find the file on your computer, or you can drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and then the file to upload is the one which starts SVG in the file name. So I'll click and drag that in, and then it should look like this with all of the layers one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you see all the layers next to each other on the page instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file. So if that's the case, click Cancel down on the bottom right and then try again and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. When it's looking like this, you're ready to click Upload, and then the image will appear in your recent uploads. So you can click it to get the green border and then press Add to Canvas. Here's what it looks like when it loads in, and you can see all of the layers down the right hand side of the screen. This does have quite a lot of layers in it, but it's really worth it to cut them all out because it creates a gorgeous dimensional effect which makes it look really realistic with the two penguins having a little cuddle. If you want to resize the design, click on it and then you can use the width and height boxes at the top. Make sure the padlock icon is closed. If it's open, then you can click on it to close it. And then that means when you change one of the settings, for example, if I make the width 6 inches and then press enter on my keyboard, the height changes as well, so it all remains in proportion. You'll notice a slight change in colouring on these layers. Some of them, for example, this big bit of the tummy are white, and then you have a slight off-white. I recommend cutting the off-white shade in the lightest grey that you have, or a very, very light blue, or a kind of cream or ivory colour. So it shouldn't be too different to the white, so whatever you've got that's almost but not quite white will look really good, and it's just to make that little bit of shadowing effect on it to make it look even more realistic and create the extra bits of detail around the baby penguin too. When you're ready to cut it out, click Make It over on the top, and that will separate out all of your mats. If you need to change the paper size, you can do that on the left, but you do need to do that for every single colour. You'll notice when it did that it's now split it out into different sheets of paper, more than there were before. The Cricut doesn't think I can fit this onto 3 sheets. It's put it onto 4, but I'm pretty sure I can get this on that first sheet. So let's give it a go by clicking the 3 little dots and then Move Object. You need to make sure you choose the same colour, so I'm going to go for this first sheet. Press Confirm. And then have a little play with rotating, and you can see that actually does fit. So now this will cut these 2 shapes from one sheet of card, which means this one that's now empty, once we hit continue, it will be removed, so we won't need this one. So what we've done is we've outsmarted Design Space because it thought we needed 4 sheets, but nope, only needed 3. You can do this for every single colour, so for example, let's change that one to A4 as well, and now that's split that onto 2, but I think actually I'm not going to get that onto there, so I will have to cut 2 of that one, but I will rotate it round so that it will use less of my sheet, which means I'll then have all of this space at the bottom left for another project. When you're happy with how all of your pages are looking, click continue and it will connect to your Cricut machine, and then go ahead and get everything cut out from cardstock. One last little thing in Design Space before we go on to sticking everything together is I thought I'd quickly show you how you could cut this if you didn't want to include the background of the snow. To do that, look down the Layers panel all the way down to the bottom, and then click the eye icon next to the background layers, and that will hide them from the cut. So you can hide all of those layers, and that would let you then cut just the penguins without the background. So if you wanted to, you could put it onto a different background, and it also means that you can cut it a little bit smaller if you wanted to put it onto a greetings card. Here are all of my layers cut out, and I've just laid them one on top of the other so that they're all in position. That way I can check I'm happy with the colours and also that I haven't missed anything. However, to put it together, we need to start from the bottom and work our way up, which means I need to move these layers around. So I'm just going to take off these penguins, trying to keep everything in the same place, especially those tiny eye details. Then these layers, and then I'm left with my snow. So the very two bottom layers are this solid white and the blue with the snowflakes taken out of it. Now if you want to, you could leave these two layers out entirely, and you could even leave out the ones with the bottom bit of snow if you just wanted to have the penguin. But I'm going to keep it in and do it as it was designed. This first layer is a glue layer. I'm using Cut-Lao glue, which I really like because it doesn't bend or warp or wrinkle the cardstock like some other glues can do. And I put it in these needle tip applicator bottles, which I get on Amazon, which are brilliant for layered designs because the nozzles are so thin and tiny that I can get it into all of these details. So I'm going to go around and just get right around that edge. See how easy and quick that is. So just all the way around here. And this has to have a good stick because it's going to have all the other layers on top of it, which will end up being quite heavy because there are quite a few layers in this penguin. Okay. Stick that on, and then just check that I've got that lined up, which I do. There we go. Okay. The next layer is the snow along the bottom, and this one will be a foam square layer. So I'm going to turn it upside down and bring in my foam squares. I think because I've cut this so big, I'm probably going to run out of foam squares, so I might have to run off in a minute and hope that I've got another pack somewhere, although I am kind of running out, so I really hope there is another pack somewhere. I always leave it too late to order more craft supplies. I should order it when I'm nearly running out, not when I've actually run out, but I never seem to learn. The only difference is cardstock, which I do tend to order quite ahead of time because I have a bit of a cardstock addiction. So I'm just peeling the tops off of these foam squares to release the sticky, and you see that I put these pieces in the middle of the bit of card. That's really important because it gives it a level ledge for that card to sit on. If you only put your foam pads around the edge and none in the middle, then you'll find that the middle of the card domes downwards because it won't have any support, and it just won't look as good as if you had added those bits in the middle. Now I'm going to line this up using the oval at the bottom as a guide, and then just gently drop it down. And the reason I'm doing that is that if I hadn't quite got it lined up, I can pick it up really easily to try again without damaging anything. But that looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to push down to seal all of those foam squares. The next layer is this one, which makes up the shadowing on the snow. And this will be a glue layer. So I'm going to get my glue and let's put that all around the edge again and some in the middle. Again, I'm going to use that bottom oval to get it lined up, but you can also do it along the beak and the head. The next layer is this one, which makes the front of the snow, and this time I'm going to just glue it, I think. Yeah, I'm going to glue it. You could use either on this one, either foam or glue, but as we've still got so many layers of the penguins, I think glue is going to look better. Cut this so big it almost doesn't fit in the shot. Okay, there we are. The next layer is the very first part of the penguin, and this is just making its back wing. So if you look, once the next ones are on, you just see that little bit at the back. I'm going to foam this bit, which makes up his tummy, but for the back wing, as we're only seeing a little bit of that, I'm going to glue it. Again, to stop it getting too deep with the other layers. And also we want the depth of the foam between this back wing and the tummy, but we don't necessarily need this back wing to be raised up from the snow. You're still going to get that depth perception just because of how everything else looks on the top. Now we've lost that bottom oval, so I'm lining it up using the beak. Okay, next we have this white layer, and this one will be foam squared to give that tummy the natural dimension from that back wing. Let's line this up with the beak, and just like with the last foam layer, just gently drop it down to check you're happy with the positioning before you seal all of the foam. This layer is making the shadowing on the tummy, and this will be a glue layer. Put that one on there. Alrighty, let's have a look at what we've got next. So I'm going to carefully move those ones, and oh, I just made a mess. Okay, now we have these which make up the two yellow bits in the penguin's on his throat. And I think for these, I'm actually going to glue them because it would be flush with his feathers in real life, and we've still got a lot of depth to add for the baby penguin. So I don't want it looking a little bit uneven. So these ones, both of them will be glued. You can probably tell that I kind of make this up as I go along, but it usually ends up looking just fine. So we'll stick with that. Here's the other bit, which is a slightly darker yellow. And I love with this design how much detail there is in it with all of this shadowing, both on the snow and these colours and in the baby penguin. There's just so much to it that makes it extra special. Does use up quite a bit of card though, especially when you make it big like this. Alright, next we're moving on to what makes up the body of the baby penguin and his head. So for this one, which is going to go on here, because we want the baby to look like he's in front of the mother penguin, I'm going to use the foam squares on this one. I'm not sure if my camera's picking it up, but I cut these solid layers of the penguin from a kind of almost shimmery black card. I'll try and show it to you in a minute before I stick it on. But it's really nice. It really does look like a penguin because it almost looks kind of wet. It's got that sheen to it that penguin fur does. Penguin fur, penguin feathers does. when it's in the light, you know, it kind of gives you blacks and blues and purples and all the colours. And this cardstock, unfortunately I can't remember where it was from. I don't know if you can see a little bit. So you've got that shimmer on it. It's really nice. So pearlescent card, maybe kind of a black metallic, or even possibly holographic might work if you wanted to do something similar. There we go. Okay, now the next layer is this white one. This one makes up the little baby penguin face, and this is a glue layer. Next I've got the baby penguin beak, and I am just hoping I don't lose it in the few seconds that it takes for me to stick this on, because it is actually pretty tiny. There's that one. And then for the beak, I'm going to add my glue straight on there, just a teeny tiny bit. And then get this very ditty beak. Put that on there. Okay. Almost there. Next is the tummy of that baby penguin. I'm going to go on here. And this will be another foam one because we want to give the tummy the dimension to separate it from the face. Otherwise you won't really see that there's an extra piece on there for the tummy because it's the same colour. Sometimes it's really interesting how when you lie the bits of paper together at the start, some of the layers look like they don't make sense because you've got the same colour on top of the same colour. But once you've got the foam in and you get the shadowing from the natural raised distances, then it all becomes clear and you see the effect of all of the 3D-ness. Is 3D-ness a word? I don't think so. Okay, so tummy on. Oh, I've messed that up a little bit. That's why you just lie it down gently to start with. Much better. Okay. This is our final shadowing layer, which is the outline of that baby penguin. And this one is a glue layer, which is just as well because it would be really hard to get foam in the outer pieces of that baby penguin tummy. If you don't have a pale grey, then a cream colour or ivory would look really good too. Even possibly a pale blue if you've got one that's even paler than this. That would look nice too. Right, next we've got the little wing in the baby penguin. And it's up to you on this one if you want to use foam or glue. I am going to use some foam. You can't see what I'm doing because I've just realised this is not in shot of the camera. But there we go. Little baby penguin. Now we're back to Mummy Penguin. And for these black layers, I'm going to first glue on the eye and the beak because otherwise I'm worried I'm going to lose them. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the beak and stick this on. Now this is going to get a little bit covered up by the detail layer here. If you'd rather the beak was more prominent and you got more yellow, then you can stick this on at the end so it would go sort of overlapping on top of this one. That's completely up to you if you'd rather do it that way. Here's my eye. Put the teeniest bit of glue on there. It is very small. Put that on. I'm actually just, while that glue is wet, I'm just going to lie this on top to check it's in the right place. Ooh. I've got glue on my fingers. This is not going as I was expecting, and now it's moving it. Okay, that was a really bad idea. Don't do what I just did. I was worried about it not being in the right place, but I think it is. So there we go. Right, I'm just going to wait for that to dry a second before I turn it over and ruin it some more. So move that out the way and just give it a few seconds. Now my glue is dried, almost. I can turn this over, and I am going to glue this to the front because otherwise I think it's just going to be a little bit too deep. We've already got a lot of shadowing going on here in the neck, and I don't particularly want to add to that. So just gluing this one. We're still going to get the little bit of depth that shows that this penguin is wrapping itself around his baby, because we've got the two layers, that one and then this very flimsy one, which will also be glued. If this one seems a little bit daunting, then you could leave it off. I mean, it still looks really cute without it. So that one is completely up to you because this is very narrow. Needle tip bottles are earning their keep. Also, where I'm actually filming, like my table where the camera is quite far away from where I'm actually sat, so I've got my arms all outstretched as far as they'll go to try and do the glue, and it's not as easy as I would like. Okay. Put this on. Be careful not to get glue anywhere I don't want it to be. And then finally we've got the wing. That way? That way. I'm not sure. I'm actually going to have to go to my computer and check what way around that wing should go. Alright, I've checked and it should be that way, and I've done that one wrong. It should have been the other way round. But I still think it looks cute, so I'm going to keep it like that. Oh dear, serves me right for not checking. Okay, last piece then is this wing, which I'm going to use foam for. Here we go. And then put that just about there, looks right. And then we have it, our little mummy and baby penguin, or possibly daddy and baby penguin already. And this is heavy with all of those layers on, but you see it really has a lot of depth to it. I'm trying to show you. Oh, look at the shine. So pretty. Yeah, the depth adds to the realism of it, and I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So I hope you enjoy it too if you make it. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make these gorgeous little penguins. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. Thank you for watching. Bye!